big stories, the extreme heat begins to hit the broader economy as people head out less and businesses endure frequent power interruptions.
The Justice Department warns active police personnel that they will be sanctioned if found to be cooperating with the International Criminal Court's investigation into the war on drugs.
And joining us tonight to share her story, the first Filipina rower to qualify for the Olympics, Joanie Delgaco.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Riza Diaz.
And I'm Gretchen Ho.
At least 30 different areas will be under the dangerous heat index category tomorrow, Friday. That's according to the heat index forecast of Pagasa. Today, the heat index in 29 areas in the country already reached dangerous levels. The highest heat index of 47 degrees Celsius was recorded in Dagupan City, Pangasinan, and Apari, Cagayan, followed by Aborlan, Palawan, Bacnotan, La Union, and Sangli Point in Cavite. Then you also have 44 degrees in Naiya and Pasay City, Lawag, Ilocos Norte, Ambulong, Tanawan, Batangas, Coron, Palawan, and Legazpi City in Albay. So when we say it's hit dangerous levels, what exactly does that mean, right? It's when the heat index hits 42 to 51 or 52 degrees Celsius. According to Pagasa, that means the body is likely to experience heat cramps, heat stroke, probably heat exhaustion as well, and with all of that with continued exposure.
Well, for tomorrow, Pag-asa is forecasting that 33 areas in the country will experience a dangerous heat index. The highest forecasted heat index is again seen to be recorded in Dagupan City, Pangasinan at 47 degrees Celsius.
Now, here are some tips from Pag-asa. One is to lessen yung time that we spend outdoors, especially on those critical hours. Also, please drink plenty of water. Wear umbrellas if you're going outside. Hats are also going to be very useful. Avoid drinking coffee, tea, or soda, or perhaps liquor, because again, these adds to the body heat that we feel. And if you are really to go outside, then schedule those activities beginning or end of the day when it's actually cooler.
Actually, I get worried now because the obvious solution to the heat is going inside an air-conditioned room. But then on the other side of that, do we have enough power supply for all the homes to be powered up with air cons? In fact, the senators have expressed concerns on the power supply, and there are possibilities of a rotational brownout if we don't augment the lack of supply, because 47 power plants in the country have failed. 21 hydroelectric power plants have stopped working because of dry rivers. So yun yung parang binabalanse natin dito eh, yung comfort levels and the power supply.
I mean, there's no going around it, right? The power supply is not enough. This is why we have to conserve energy, as the DOE has been saying all along, as NGCP has been saying all along. The supply is just not enough to meet peak demand. That's the reality of it, right? Yun nga, as you pointed out, the irony though is now is when we need the most power at the moment, right? Because you need your appliances, right? People want to be in cars traveling from one place to another. And that's just when, and remember as well, it's a vicious cycle, because the reason some of these power plants are off-grid or offline was because of the heat as well, right? It's affected the machines, it's affected the amount of energy that they're able to generate. So it's all connected.
If you could take it, put that last on the list. I mean, going to an air-conditioned room, turning your aircon on the whole night. Diba, kung pwede lumabas na lang tayo.
And for us, karamihan na merong air conditioners or yung mga fans, make sure that you have them regularly cleaned, because if they're not maintained, the more that they consume electricity.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know?
Well, as we were just saying, the Luzon and Visayas grids were again placed under yellow alert today as electricity supplies failing to meet the demand. So with forced outages becoming more frequent, The senators are now calling for an investigation to find out who should be punished for this thinning power supply in the country. Reporter Camille Samonte has the rest of the details. Go ahead, Camille.
That's right, Reg. One of the senators calling for a probe into power supply issues is Senator Win Gatchalian. For him, the Department of Energy is underprepared for the impact of El Nino. He says the agency is aware that the grids are always placed under either yellow or red alert during the hot season, which is why they should have known by now how to prevent this from happening.
Alam natin yung El Nino ay papasok na. No, alam natin na napakainit ang panahon. Alam natin na posible ring mawala ng tubig sa mga river system natin. Ito yung worst case scenario. Pero hindi natin napagplanuhan yung worst case scenario. Kaya nakakakita tayo ngayon ng mga red alerts. At baka humaba pa.
Gatchalian said the agency should have also prevented the simultaneous force outages of at least 47 power plants. That's why he says the DOE should be investigated along with the owner of the plants, noting an increase in power rates in some areas following the incident.
May mga bagay talagang hindi nakokontrol tulad yung pagtuyo ng mga river systems natin. Kaya yung hydropower plant tumigil, no? 21 na hydropower plants tumigil. Pero may mga bagay rin na pwede nilang makontrol, no? Unang-una, bakit nagkaroon ng mga force outages yung mga planta natin ngayon? 47, ganung karaming force outages ang nawala sa sistema natin. Dapat maimbestigahan ito. Dapat tignan mabuti kung bakit nagkaroon ng force outage. Dahil nung nagkaroon ng force outage, nakita ko tumaas rin ang presyo ng kuryente.
Senator Risa Hontiveros also called out Energy Secretary Rafael Lutilla. Hontiveros says that instead of telling consumers to conserve energy officials should do their job and create an effective action plan to address power issues. She says in her statement, it's time for action and not just empty promises. In her defense, Energy Secretary Lutilla says the agency continues to coordinate with power plant owners and that they continue to monitor their operations.
If I had the power to bring on the rains by doing a rain dance, I will be the first to do so. But I know that the concern being expressed by Senator Ontiveros is one that we in the DOE take seriously, and our staff is constantly working on these things, monitoring, for example, the operations of the different plants and coordinating with them.
Lutilla is also appealing to certain organizations and LGUs to assist in establishing new power plants and renewable energy projects that the agency is pushing for. The secretary says these projects are getting delayed because some sectors continue to oppose them.
You would not believe it, but even some of the renewable energy projects are being hindered by opposition from a number of sectors. So this is the appeal that we would like to make to the public in general, including our local government units. Let's help facilitate the construction and even the construction of power plants and of transmission and distribution wires. Because at the end of the day, it's we ourselves whom we are punishing by not cooperating.
Reg, the Luzon grid was placed under yellow alert from 1 to 5 p.m. this afternoon and then again from 7 to 11 p.m. Yellow alert was also placed in the Visayas grid earlier this afternoon from 1 to 4 p.m. and again tonight at 6 to 7 and 8 to 9 p.m. Reg?
Thanks for that update, Camille Samonte.
The extreme heat has been so bad, it's beginning to hurt the economy. In fact, a BSP study found that for every 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature, the country loses billions in productivity. Shaila Francisco has the details.
An old Filipino saying goes, kapag may tiyaga, may nilaga. But with the extreme heat in the country affecting many Filipinos, this is simply not enough to motivate them to keep working. Street vendors are opting not to continue operations because they couldn't stay long under the scorching sun. One of them is Lolo Guillermo, who decided to settle for a smaller income and to set up shop in one place.
Hindi ko kakayan, baka mamaya mag-collapse ako. Ako 71 years old naman, ngayon ko lang naranasan itong ganitong init. Kataong nakaupo dyan, talaga napakamaalisangan eh. Sobra. Malaki ang epekto sa negosyo, ma'am.
Vegetable vendor Rolando has a different problem. With this extreme heat, the vegetables he is selling are wilting faster than usual.
Pag mas mainit yung panahon, mas madali talagang malalanta yung gulay. Kaya luging-lugi talaga yung mga negosyo dito. Tulad po, ano po yung kangkong namin sa loob, wala po. Halos marami rin pong natira, nalanta lang po. Hindi po kinaya ng init. Hindi po kinaya ng kangkong yung init.
Hindi, yung tumal, matumal ba?
Sobrang tumal po.
The slow income being felt by these workers is also felt by the greater economy. A study by the BSP shows that every time the country's average temperature goes up by 1 degree Celsius, the economy grows more slowly by about 0.37 percentage points. With the Philippine economy valued at 24 trillion pesos, this translates to losses of almost 90 billion pesos for every 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature. An economist warns higher losses can even be expected due to the El Nino.
Bababa yung economic activities. For comfort also, no? Kung sobrang init, di ba? So, hindi mo na lalabas yung ibang tao. So, mababawasan yung paggastos nila sa labas. Yung transportasyon, yung mga benta ng tindahan. Siyempre, kung kakain sila, no? Yung magmula sa mga small businesses, MSMEs, hanggang sa mga big businesses, mababawasan yung benta.
RCBC Chief Economist Mike Ricafort said that slower productivity is possible in businesses affected by frequent brownouts or power interruptions. The most impacted by the extreme heat is agriculture, as the rising temperature damages crops and in turn affects the earning of farmers. With less crops harvested, there is also less supply of food available in the markets. Despite this, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce says businesses have not yet incurred significant losses. The group assures consumers that they are trying not to pass on the added production costs they incur.
We're just absorbing it because we are not certain how long this will last, no? But these are costs that I think the businessmen are willing to absorb in the meantime. I hope that it's not going to be very long term.
So, Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
Nako, ayun na.
Mas malala pala yung effect.
Yes,
We
because
actually understand and feel.
yes, it's more than just
Yeah,
feeling uncomfortable.
right.
So it's not just because people are afraid to go out. The same BSP study actually found that again, for every 1 degree Celsius increase in average yearly temperature, prices tend to rise too, and that's about the last thing we want to hear, right? And worse, that effect, the rising prices, can last up to 4 years. So let's take a look at the numbers. BSP said in the short term, we're seeing a slight increase on food prices, about 0.56%. Medium term, we're talking about 0.66%. Long term, it's more pronounced at 0.8%. The numbers may seem small, but remember as well that food items account for 35% of the Filipino consumer basket. So these numbers, when in aggregate, can come up to be, significant.
Temperature fluctuations actually affect crop production, especially palay and corn. And studies show that the output for these dropped for every 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature. Alam natin yan with the El Nino upon us as well. There are also supply side issues. The same study found that hotter temperatures We've learned how to adapt, right?
It's a balancing act, as you said.
Well, in other news, the government is ramping up its campaign against online child sexual abuse. No less than President Marcos gave the marching order in a recent sectoral meeting, with the Philippines still being cited as a hotbed for child pornography. Now, according to government data, most cases of child online abuse are being reported in Taguig, Cagayan de Oro, and Iligan, with victims being peddled by their own family out of poverty.
Kumakagat na yung mga victims, mga 300, 200, for just showing si Saem, showing nude pictures. Ganun na po sila, yes.
200 pesos?
200, 300, according, yes po. That's how bad it is.
20%, these numbers, look at this, 20% of Filipino internet users are actually age 11 to 17, minors. They fall victim online of sexual abuse, and that's according to UNICEF.
Definitely very, very concerning, as 83% of kids sexually abused online are exploited by somebody they know, by relatives, including parents. So usually, nangyayari daw yan sa bahay, no, na hindi naman basta-basta. Kaya parang mas alarming pa yung ganong statistic na yon. 86% of online child sexual abuse victims in the Philippines are girls. And the youngest online sexual abuse victim is a 3-month-old baby.
That's very hard for me to read, considering that I have a 1-year-old at home. 3 months old, right? I think the government is doing well in terms of stepping up to try to curb this, but at the same time, we know the criminals are also very ingenious, right? They find ways around this.
Right. As parents, it's really a lot of us being, a lot more discerning and responsible and trying
And education,
to,
you're right. You have to educate.
But at the same time, when you hear that, they're the ones that are closest to them are the culprits.
It's very, very traumatic, and I'm sure the effect of that will just not be for this generation, but it will, pass on and have a ripple effect.
Exactly.
There should be like a stricter penalty for
Lifetime jail.
Well, up next, we'll bring you the latest on this year's Balikatan exercises, with naval ships from the Philippines, United States, and France leading the way. The full story when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching a big story here on One News.
Filipino-American French naval ships sailed from Puerto Princesa, Palawan today as part of the Balikatan's Multilateral Maritime Exercise, or MME. They are heading for drill areas in the West Philippine Sea. Rainiel Powid has that report.
Even with reports of a surge in Chinese maritime forces, this year's Balikatan is still a go, with troops from the Philippines, United States, and France in high spirits. Earlier this morning, naval ships of the Philippines, US, and France departed from Puerto Princesa in Palawan. For the Philippine side, it's the BRP Ramon Alcaraz and the BRP Davao del Sur. The Americans, on the other hand, have the USSS Harper's Ferry, while the French Navy is represented by the surveillance frigate FS Vendemier. Troops executed an onboard ship landing on the BRP Alcaraz. Knowing how to efficiently land a helicopter on a ship is crucial, especially for sea operations. It's also worth mentioning that 2 female pilots were behind the controls and the successful touchdown. Aside from this exercise, the ships also practice division tactics.
It aims to enhance the capability of our officers in maneuvering a ship involved in a group formation, and the capability of our personnel in decoding and encoding tactical signals and solving them.
Despite the optics of this year's Balikatan, the Philippine Navy insists they have no intention of intimidating any country. But in case Chinese ships do make their presence felt during the exercises, the Philippine Navy says contingency measures are in place, although for security reasons. They did not elaborate what these exact measures are. The 4 ships will continue sailing off Palawan and then head up north to Mindoro Strait before heading back into the West Philippine Sea, where photo and gunner exercises will be held. For 1PH, this is Rainiel Powid, News 5.
Meanwhile, Philippine and U.S. officials are doubling down on maritime cooperation with a new set of agreements, including one on law enforcement at sea. Earlier this week, senior government officials from the 2 countries met in Washington for the 11th bilateral strategic dialogue. Present in that dialogue was Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez, and he said the Department of National Defense is working with U.S. counterparts to come up with protocols on maritime law enforcement. Romualdez said they're looking to include Australia and Japan in the initiative, although talks are still in initial stages. And what we know for now is that both countries agreed to strengthen cooperation against illegal fishing and develop procedures for enforcing international maritime laws.
In other news, both the Department of Justice and the Philippine National Police warned all active personnel that they will be sanctioned if they cooperate with the ICC's investigation into the war on drugs. That's after former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV said he heard that the ICC has talked to some 50 active and former police. For the rest of that story, we have Maricel Halili Mase. What else do we know?
Gretch, both the DOJ and PNP said that those who will cooperate with the International Criminal Court, or ICC's probe on the war on drugs of former President Rodrigo Duterte will be held accountable.
There may be accountability involved.
Clavano issued this statement after former Senator Antonio Trillanes claimed that ICC investigators have directly communicated with around 50 active and former police officials on their role in former President Rodrigo Duterte's anti-illegal drugs campaign. Trillanes said that if they do not cooperate with the investigators, they can be implicated as suspects. Clavano, however, said that they are not aware of this development, but they insisted that the ICC has no jurisdiction in the Philippines. Clavano added that officials who violate this policy could be held liable for violating Republic Act 6713 or the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees. However, retired officials are not included in this clause.
Well, if they are acting in their civilian capacity or personal capacity, then of course we have little to hold over them, no? However, again, we will not recognize anything that will come out of that conversation or coordination with them.
The PNP, for its part, said they are looking into Trillanes' claim. PNP spokesperson Jean Fajardo also added that the ICC cannot talk to any of its personnel unless approved by their higher officials.
Kung ikaw ay isang active personnel at you are performing any activities that is contrary to what is being stated officially ng PNP po, then posible po na may kakaharapin pong sanction po ang sino mga pulis na hindi po susunod doon sa tinatawag po nating chain of command po.
Gretch, as you know, President Bongbong Marcos has reiterated several times that the Philippines will not cooperate with the investigation of the ICC with regards to the drug war of the former administration. Gretch?
Thank you very much for that update, Maricel Halili.
Meanwhile, Department of Migrant Workers Officer in Charge, Undersecretary Hans Leo Kakdak, has been named the DMW's new secretary. President Marcos appointed Kakdak to head the department around 7 months after he was designated officer in charge. He replaced the late DMW Secretary Susan Ople, who died of breast cancer August last year. Now, prior to his appointment, he was the Executive Director of Overseas Workers Welfare Administration and Philippine Overseas Employment Administration and Undersecretary of the Department of Labor and Employment.
That's really good news. Undersecretary, or now I should say Secretary Kakdak, we know is tireless, especially with the events of the last several months with the conflict in the Middle East. We know he's been working tirelessly to assist our OFWs there. We're going to pause for a quick one right now, but right after that, we will be speaking with Joanie Delgaco, who recently rode her way to a spot in the Paris Olympics. That and more when the big story returns. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are still watching The Big Story here in One News.
Now, before she even boards that plane to Paris, she already made history, becoming the first ever Filipina rower to qualify for the Olympics. This is after she clinched the 4th spot in the women's single sculls in the World Rowing Asian and Oceanian Qualification Regatta in Chungju, South Korea last Sunday, April 21st. And joining us tonight to talk about her remarkable journey is Joanie Delgaco, the first Filipina rower Olympian in history. Good evening, Ma'am, and welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you po sa pag-interview sa akin, ma'am. And sa mga nanonood po.
Ma'am, kasi napag-alaman natin, Gretchen, Red, she's also an enlisted personnel of the Philippine Navy.
Oh, wow.
So, congratulations!
Nakaka-proud naman.
Oo.
Dapat siya yung sumasama
Thank you,
sa mga
ma'am.
sa paglalakbay sa West Philippine Sea.
Kasi
pero
magaling siya mag-row.
Pero teka, lumaban ka muna. Una-una, Joanie, no, you are the 11th Filipino Olympian bound for Paris. You are the first Filipina rower to get into the Olympics and the 4th rower in Philippine history to do that. How does it feel now? Alam ko, noong Tokyo, you also made an effort to make it to the Olympics, but this time, dito ka pinalad. Kamusta?
I think maybe she didn't hear.
Oh,
Sorry.
Joanie?
Good.
Joanie? Can you hear us?
I think we're trying to fix the connection.
Oo nga.
You know, Joanie.
Pero na-cover ko tong rowing nung Tokyo Olympics. Bilib na bilib ako. Si Chris Nievares that time. I mean, such a young, promising guy. Tapos pag-alaman ko na si Benjamin Tolentino, the Olympian who qualified, who was in the Olympics, was the one training
In
Chris.
2000. In year 2000.
That's nice.
Parang ganun.
Meron silang
It's very poetic.
Yes, it's a very parang
Ayan,
tight-knit community.
Balikan natin si Joanie. Joanie, narinig mo kami?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, Joanie, ulitin ko lang you are the 11th Filipino to make it to the Olympics, the first Pinay rower, and the 4th rower in Philippine history to make it to this level. Kamusta ka ngayon?
Sa ngayon po, ma'am, nakapahinga po kahit ilang araw po. So, nakauwi lang po namin nung 23 po na madaling araw po dito sa Pilipinas.
How are you taking all of this? Anong pakiramdam na magiging isang Olympian?
Sobrang overwhelmed ako, ma'am. Sobrang saya, ma'am, di ako makatulog.
Kahit sobrang pagod, kasi pinapanood kami ng interview mo, di ba, pagkatapos nung race, halos, di ba, nag-cramps yung buong katawan. Kahit sobrang pagod, hindi ka makatulog?
Nung after, ma'am, nung pagkagabi po, madaling araw na po ako nakatulog. Sobrang saya po.
So, bakit naman hindi magiging sobrang saya? Di ba, sinubukan mo nung Tokyo pa lang na mag-qualify pero hindi ka pinalad. Sa tingin mo ba, what change? Ano nagbago doon sa paghahanda mo dito sa Paris at ngayon ay nasungkit mo na?
Ano, ma'am, marami po ako natutunan nung last, pali third attempt ko na po itong pag-qualify ko for Paris. So, yung first attempt ko, 18 years old pa po ako that time. So, sobrang bata pa po talaga ako, ma'am. And attempt po ulit ako noong 2020 Tokyo. Isang segundo na lang po mag-qualify niyo po sana sa Olympics. So, yun. Itong pangatlong attempt ko po. Yun na po. Papasok na rin po sa wakas.
Okay, Joanie, nakikita natin yung video mo, no, of you training. Alam ko, ang usual na training spot ng rowers dito, parang sa lamesa dami, no? Doon pa rin ba? How have you been training, preparing for the Olympics? Looks like we are having internet problems. Joanie, naririnig mo kami?
Yes po, ma'am. Sorry.
Ayun, ulitin
Opo,
ko lang
ma'am.
paano yung naging preparasyon mo dito? Saan kayo nagte-training? Kasi dati alam natin sa Lamesa Dam, isa yun sa mga site. But how was it? Kasi alam ko na medyo nagsarado dun eh. Are you still able to train there? What are the sites? What was your training like?
Doon pa rin po kami yung nag-training sa La Mesa Dam po. So, last month, bago po mag-start yung qualifying sa Olympics, nag-training ka po kami, ma'am, ng isang buwan sa Yangzhou, China po.
China. O, nasaan ka ngayon?
Dito po ako sa Cavite po.
Nandito ka lang.
Nakauwi na siya. Joanie, kwento mo naman, kailan ka nag-start mag-row para sa mga hindi nakakaalam? Like, how long have you been in this sport?
Coming 8 years na po ako sa team. So, dati po, ma'am, hindi po talaga, wala po akong knowledge sa sport na to, na rowing. So, nag-start ko talaga ako sa volleyball po.
Volleyball?
Yes po.
Volleyball
po ako
player.
dati.
Parang si Gretchen na pala.
May
So,
pag-asa
may
pa ba?
pag-asa pa si Gretchen. Mag-switch to rowing.
Sobrang layo po, ma'am, sa bola, tapos biglang sa buwan.
Oo. Paano ka naman napunta sa rowing? Accident lang ba or interested ka talaga sa sport?
Yung isang coach ko po, ma'am, taga Bicol po kasi siya. So, nag-recruit po siya ng matangkad na babae. Sa rowing po kasi, ma'am, kailangan po talaga ng matangkad tsaka mahaba yung arms.
Kasi advantage yun, ano?
Opo.
Ano bang height mo?
5'5" po ako, ma'am. So, pinakamaliit po ako sa team.
Oh, wow.
Pareho ba kayo
Opo.
ng team ni Chris Nievares? Si Chris kasi na-cover ko
Opo.
siya dati sa Tokyo eh. Same coaching staff?
Nagkasama po kami, ma'am.
Oo. Ano naman ang nasabi ni Chris pagkatapos nitong tournament? Pati nung ibang teammates mo?
Kay Chris po, ma'am, siyempre po hindi rin po maiwasan na nalungkot po, ma'am. So, alam ko po binigay po niya po yung best niya sa laro po. Kasi po, ma'am, malalakas po talaga lahat ng nakalaban po eh. 17 countries po sila naglaban.
Sa lalaki. Okay.
Opo.
What are you preparing for in Paris? Saan ba kayo magro-row? Doon ba sa Seine River?
River Seine.
River Seine.
Doon ba kayo?
Tsaka di ba parang 1 month prior to the
Opo,
Olympics, aalis na kayo, no? Magte-training na kayo doon.
Opo. Sa June po, start na po kami doon.
Doon ka sa River Seine?
Opo, sa baba po nung Eiffel Tower po mismo.
Wow! Nakapunta ka na ng Paris, Joanie?
First time po, ma'am.
That's
Dito
so
ka pa sa
exciting.
Paris nag-qualify.
Ay, tapos isang buwan ka mahigit doon. Baka pagbalik mo dito, yung mga
Nagka-French
kababayan
ka na.
mo sa Kamsur, hindi ka na makilala, nagka-French ka na.
Pero Joanie, ano yung kailangan pagandaan? In Paris, naaral mo na ba kung ano yung klima, ano yung temperatura, pati yung mga magiging kalaban mo, possibly?
Para sa akin, ma'am, nung nasa China po kami, nung isang buwan po ako sa Asia, sobrang lamig po talaga, ma'am, nag-negative 1 po yung klima po doon. So, nung pag-uwi po namin dito sa Pilipinas, bigla pong nag-adjust po yung ano po namin kasi galing sa lamig, biglang sobrang init. Yun po.
Sa Paris, sa July, ano yung magiging climate nun? Malamig?
Sa ngayon, ma'am, wala pa po ako kung ano po, weather po doon.
Kasi inaaral niya pati yung wind eh.
Oo.
Wind
Kasi it
direction.
affects the current of the
Oh yeah, that's true.
the water. So hindi ka muna makakauwi sa Kamsur niyan.
Pag tinatawag po ako ng mayor, ma'am. Sa ngayon po, ma'am, kasi hindi pa po ako kasi inantay ko pa po yung call na Philippine Navy po.
Kasi baka, di ba alam mo may mga heroes welcome kapag umuwi sa probinsya. Joanie, nabasa ko din, correct me if I'm wrong, pero you lost your mother already. She would have, she is very proud of you. Lalo na ikaw pa yung una, di ba, na Filipina to be, sent in the Olympics for this sport. Kung ang nanay mo ba naging impluensya din sa'yo and you, and of course, joining the sport?
Yung mga wala po talaga siyang sports talaga. So, walang sport talaga.
O hindi masyadong naging sports active. That's what I gather from that last.
Joanie, meron ka bang hinahabol na time dito? Because I believe nag-qualify ka for
Right.
Paris, but I think at 8 seconds.
8 seconds.
8 seconds.
A little over 8 seconds.
Tapos yung nag-podium nasa 7.
Yes.
Ano yung target mo to be able to medal in Paris?
Sa time po kasi ma'am, pabago-bago po kasi yung weather. So, hindi rin po namin nabasayan yung time. Hindi po kasi ma'am na malakas ng hangin, pero mataas po yung time. Tapos na po first place ka. Hindi po talaga na mabase yung time po sa ng weather po.
Okay, so ano binabalak mo ngayon para kahit paano ma-simulate mo yung environment doon sa Paris? Anong game plan ng Team Delgaco?
Para sa akin, ma'am, siguro pag-adjust po ako dun sa venue po namin kasi maalim po yung current ng water po nila.
Sabi ko sa West Philippines siya.
Kaya nga, pag hindi ka daw busy, sama ka
siya. Sa Balikatan.
Well, thank
Ma'am,
you.
tataob po ako doon.
Kaya ito yung mga kailangan natin doon
Mabilis Joanie, mabilis
diba?
ka mag-grow so pwede mong lagpasan yung Chinese boats.
Oo.
Diba? We need you there. No, you're just joking.
But we are very, very proud and,
Hindi
very
ko
happy
malakas
and
po
very
yung alim ko doon.
excited. And very excited for you. Naku, umasa ka, nakatuto kami sa magiging
Siyempre,
laban
girl
ninyo.
power tayo
Yes.
dito. No? Dahil ikaw ay ang first Filipino rower natin. We're very, very proud of you. Your name is already in the history books. And we do hope for a very bright finish in Paris. Maraming salamat, Joanie. Oo, sa susunod kausapin ka namin ulit with better internet connection. Pero ngayon, mag-practice ka muna, matulog ka ng mahimbing.
And enjoy
Kailangan mo yan.
also. Enjoy
yes,
also.
enjoy your Olympics experience.
Thank you. That's Joanie Delgaco, our first Filipino rower to qualify for the Olympics.
Well, up next, a barangay hall in Cavite opens their doors to senior citizens who are unable to bear the extreme heat. How did that go? More details on that after the break.
You're still watching the big story here on One News.
In a barangay in Sangli Point in Cavite, where Pag-asa recorded one of the highest heat indices in NCR, 4 senior citizens have reportedly succumbed to heat stroke. So, to protect their other seniors from the heat, the barangay thought of this solution. They opened their air-conditioned barangay hall for seniors to cool down from 1 o'clock p.m. onwards. At may libreng movie marathon pa. Barangay staff are also with them to check their blood pressure too.
Talagang yung ibang mga bahay ay walang mga aircon, walang ceiling yung mga bubong ng bahay, sobrang inito. Sa napansin ho namin, almost may mga 4 na ho kaming mga senior citizen na babawian ng buhay itong pagpasok ng tag-araw.
Kanyang diskarte na. May nakita naman ako, parang sa Tugigaraw, libreng tubig naman ang pinamimigay.
I also saw in one post, a viral post, parang jeepney driver. Meron siyang water jug doon. And sinasabi niya kung sakaling gusto yung there's also
Oh, that's
cups.
really nice. It's good because we're in crisis, so it's bringing out the bayanihan spirit, right? I like that idea. At least that they're taking care of the seniors who are very vulnerable to the heat, right? So,
plus, they're all in one room. So,
kahit pa paano nakasi sa aircon.
Oo, kesa isa-isa, di ba?
Oo.
Maganda yan, no?
Yeah.
At may movie pa.
May movie pa, and then you get to socialize pa.
Ginagawa namin yun sa bahay. Yung mami ko kasi gusto magtipid sa kuryente. So
Sama-sama
sinasabi,
kayo.
dito na lang tayo sa kwarto ko. Huwag kayong mag-aircon.
It's a strategy to have you her.
She's very, very
To
strict.
have you in her room.
Anyway, before we go, this is our big picture for tonight. Before